Oh, we got 1 minute.
We got 1 minute.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Is Bobby
Yeah, there's
here?
10.
Good, great.
Yeah.
Good evening. This, the 125th meeting of the 71st term of the Baltimore City Council, is now called to order. Please turn off all cell phones or put them on vibrate. Our invocation will be led by Minister Timothy Goldsby of Mount Calvary Free Will Baptist Church. After the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we've come today to tell you thank you. Father, we thank you for being here for health, life, and strength, recognizing that there are many who would want to be here today but cannot. Father, we thank you for the leadership of this city, our mayor, our city council president, and this city council. We thank you for all the citizens of Baltimore of all ages. But I've come before your throne of grace to do one thing, and that is to invoke your Holy Spirit, so that the decisions that are made today can be made in good faith, recognizing that only what is done for Christ shall last. So let us, in this chamber, exercise good judgment, sound wisdom, and soundness of mind, that the decisions that we make that will affect generations to come may be done in a way that glorifies and dignifies the very God that we serve. In the matchless name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will call the roll of the members.
President Young, Scott, Spector, Middleton, Fulton, Welsh, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Branch, Clark, Curran. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Okay, today's showcase Baltimore presentation is Rebecca Nadgel of behalf of No Boundaries Coalition. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca. I'm the co-director of the No Boundaries Coalition. We're a resident-led advocacy group that works in 8 neighborhoods in 21217. Our main initiatives are increasing public safety, improving access to healthy food, organizing young people, and getting out the vote. In the past year, we've opened a produce stall at the Avenue Market, tripled voter turnout in the Sandtown-Winchester community, and released a report on police misconduct, which we're going to spend most of our time today talking about. In addition to being rooted in Central West Baltimore, we're also a member institution of BUILD, which is here tonight. And we like to say that we support the historic agreement between Sagamore and BUILD and urge the City Council to pass it. Last spring, after the death of Freddie Gray while in police custody, we did a door-knocking campaign and heard from many residents who also shared stories of police misconduct. In response to these stories, we formed a commission, the West Baltimore Community Commission on Police Misconduct. That commission talked to 453 people with stories of police misconduct in West Baltimore, and of those 453 people, only 39 were willing to speak on the record, with a 92% refusal rate. Even just how we collected the stories shows the high level of fear of retaliation. We found that residents experienced racism and unequal treatment of white and black neighborhoods by the police. We found a collapse in community policing, and we also found that the systems for accountability for citizens to access are broken and not working. We shared all of our testimonies with the Department of Justice. Our report, which all the city council members should have a copy of, was actually cited in the DOJ findings letters. And what we're doing right now is we have collected community input on what should be in the consent decree, which my colleague Ray Kelly is going to speak more about.
Good evening, everyone. So what we've drafted in Central West Baltimore is the People's Decree, which we'll actually formally submit to the DOJ. And it's just an overview of our recommendations for policy and systemic changes within the department. So as we stated, we, the collective community of Central West Baltimore, residents, organizations, and institutions recommend that Baltimore City, the Baltimore Police Department, the Maryland General Assembly reform police policy to increase civilian oversight of the Baltimore City Police Department, implement community policing models, and ensure that every Baltimore citizen and neighborhood is policed in an equitable, effective, and constitutional manner. And we demand that the police department institute these common sense steps to actual reform, starting with training, both anti-racism and de-escalation training, as well as cultural training to acclimate them to the communities they'll be working in. We want to establish a strong policing model, community policing model, redefine the policies that govern how and where officers are assigned, and to meet regularly with the residents and the community organizations, incentivize officers to live in the communities where they work, reinstate relationship building programs like Officer Friendly and the PAL centers, increase transparency, create a diversion program for the Baltimore youth so our young black men don't have to start their life as an adult with criminal records and arrest records hindering their progress. Improve tactics during peaceful protests and demonstrations, and eliminate the war on drug policies and incentivize community policing. And our main goal with the No Boundaries Coalition has been accountability for years. So we also strongly recommend reforms to Baltimore's Civilian Review Board. And if the charter issues don't allow such reforms, we recommend that we create a new accountability conduit where communities are directly involved and the police department that our tax dollars pay for are accountable to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for the work that you all do. It is the council custom to generalize the invocation and ask for a motion to generalize the prayer. Motion by Councilman Henry, second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of generalize the prayer say aye. Aye. All those opposed nay. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We now proceed with the adoption of the journal.
Mr. President, the journal of the proceedings from the August 15th City Council meetings on the council members' desk.
The motion approved the journal. Motion by Councilman Scott, second by Council Vice President Reisinger. All those in favor of adopting the journal say aye. Aye. Those opposed nay. The motion carried. Journal is adopted. Bills signed by the mayor can be found on pages 2 to 7 of the agenda. Bills will be introduced.
City Council Bill 16-0736, Tax Credits, High Performance Market Rate Rental Housing. Ordinance for the purpose of modifying certain provisions concerning the determination of the amount of credit to be granted for a high performance market rate rental tax credit for targeted areas for citywide areas. And providing that the Director of Finance may adopt rules and regulations granting partial credits for eligibility for less than a full taxable year. Sponsored City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0737, Hotel Tax, Short-Term Rentals and Hosting Intermediaries. Ordinance for the purpose of clarifying what types of rented sleeping accommodations are subject to the city's hotel tax, extending the hotel tax to certain transactions facilitated by hosting intermediaries, defining certain terms, clarifying and conforming related provisions, and generally relating to the hotel tax. Sponsored City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to Judiciary Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0738, Zoning Conditional Use, Home for Homeless Women and Home for Homeless Women and Children, 1200 North Fremont Avenue. Ordinance for the purpose of permitting, subject to certain conditions, the establishment, maintenance, and operation of a home for homeless women and home for the establishment, maintenance, and operation for a seasonal home for homeless women and children, and in the event of an emergency situation, a home for homeless women and children on the property known as 1200 North Fremont Avenue as outlined in red in the accompanying plat. Sponsored City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0739, Environmental Control Board Board Composition. Ordinance for the purpose of changing the composition of the Environmental Control Board and generally relating to the Environmental Control Board. Sponsored City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0740, Employees Retirement System and Elected Officials Retirement System, Clarifications and Modifications. Ordinance for the purpose of changing the composition of the Board of Trustees of the Employees and Elected Officials Retirement Systems, clarifying certain provisions of the Employees Retirement System relating to optimal forms of payment, modifying certain provisions of the Elected Officials Retirement System relating to the eligibility for service retirement benefits and deferred vested benefits, the amount of service retirement benefit and posting retirement benefit increases, correcting, clarifying, and conform related provisions, and setting a special effective date, and relating to the Employees Retirement System and the Elected Officials Retirement System. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0741, City Streets Opening a Portion of Creek Alley. Ordinance for the purpose of condemning and opening a portion of Creek Alley extending from West Street southeasterly 56 feet to the southernmost extremity thereof, as shown on Plat 257A40 in the Office of Department of Transportation, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to Housing and Community Development Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0742, City Streets Closing a Portion of Creek Alley. Ordinance for the purpose of condemning and closing a portion of Creek Alley extending from West Street southeasterly 56 feet to the southernmost extremity thereof, as shown on Plat 257A40A in the Office Department of Transportation, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to Housing and Community Development Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0743, Sale of Property, a portion of the former bed of Creek Alley. Ordinance for the purpose of authorizing the mayor and city council of Baltimore to sell at either public or private sale all its interest in a certain parcel of land known as a portion of the former bed of Creek Alley, extending from West Street southeasterly 56 feet to the southernmost extremity thereof, and no longer needed for public use, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0744, City Streets Opening a Portion of South Eden Street and a portion of Alice Anna Street. Ordinance for the purpose of condemning and opening a portion of South Eden Street, extending from Lancaster Street northerly 308 feet more or less to Alisana Street, and a portion of Alisana Street, extending from South Central Avenue easterly 170 feet more or less to South Eden Street, as shown on Plat 235A42 in the Office Department of Transportation, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Housing and Community Development Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0745. City Streets Closing a Portion of South Eden Street and a portion of Alice Anna Street. Ordinance for the purpose of condemning and closing a portion of South Eden Street, extending from Lancaster Street northerly 308 feet more or less to Alice Anna Street, and a portion of Alice Anna Street, extending from South Central Avenue easterly 170 feet more or less to South Eden Street, as shown on Plat 235A42A in the Office Department of Transportation, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Housing and Community Development Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0746, Sale of Property, a portion of South Eden Street and a portion of Alice Anna Street. Ordinance for the purpose of authorizing the mayor and city council of Baltimore to sell at either public or private sale all its interest in certain parcels of land known as a portion of South Eden Street, extending from Lancaster Street northerly 308 feet more or less to Alisana Street, and a portion of Alisana Street, extending from South Central Avenue easterly 170 feet more or less to South Eden Street, and no longer needed for public use, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0747, City Streets Closing a Portion of East Fairmount Avenue. Ordinance for the purpose of condemning and closing a portion of East Fairmount Avenue, extending from the Norfolk Southern Railway right-of-way easterly 406.5 feet, more or less 146.5 feet more or less, to intersect with the west side of a 10-foot alley, as shown on Plat 295A, 35A in the Office Department of Transportation, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Housing and Community Development Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0748, Sale of Property, former bed of a portion of Delaney Valley Road. Ordinance for the purpose of authorizing the mayor and city council of Baltimore to sell at either public or private sale all its interest in a certain parcel of land known as the former bed of a portion of Delaney Valley Road. within the Loch Raven Reservoir, adjacent to 12460 Delaney Valley Road, and no longer needed for public use, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0749, Plant New Development, Amendment 1, Hollowbird Manor Condominiums. Ordinance for the purpose of approving certain amendments to the development plan of the Hollowbird Manor Condominiums Plant Unit Development. Sponsor, Kraft.
This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0750, Plant New Development Amendment, Mount Washington Hill. Ordinance for the purpose of approving certain amendments to the development plan of the Mount Washington Mill Plant New Development. Sponsor, Spector.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Spector.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I've introduced it at the request of the owner of the Washingtonville Limited Partnership with the support of the Community Association and the Merchants Association. I hope to see this amendment passed.
All right, this has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0751, rezoning 300 South Patterson Park Avenue. Ordinance for the purpose of changing the zoning for the property known as 300 South Patterson Park Avenue, as outlined on Red and the Company plat, from the R8 zoning district to the OR1 zoning district. Sponsor, Kraft.
This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0752, rezoning 900 Fleet Street. Ordinance for the purpose of changing the zoning for the property known as 900 Fleet Street, as outlined in Red and the Company plat, from the M22 zoning district to the B24 zoning district. Sponsor, Kraft.
This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0753, rezoning 1717, 1719, 1720, 1721, 1722, 1723, 1724, and 1726 Manor Avenue, and 1710, 1714, and 1716 Dundalk Avenue. Ordinance for the purpose of changing the zoning for the properties known as 1717, 1719, 1720, 1721, 1722, 1723, 1724, and 1726 Manor Avenue, and 1710, 1714, and 1716 Dundalk Avenue, is outlined in Red in the Company plat, from the R6 zoning district to the R7 zoning district. Sponsor, Kraft.
This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0754, recordation and transfer taxes increases. Ordinance for the purpose of raising the recordation tax from $5 for each $500 or fractional part of $500 for the actual consideration paid, and $6 for each $500 or fractional part of $500 for the actual consideration paid, raising the transfer tax from 1.5% to 1 3/4%, and generally relating to the city's recordation and transfer taxes. Sponsor, Henry Stokes Clark.
Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is actually companion legislation to 16-0735, inclusionary and affordable housing requirements. It's on second reader, so I'll speak to it at that time.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Judiciary Legislative Investigation Committee. Resolution to be introduced.
City Council Resolution 16-0314R, request for state action, Community Policing Steering Committee. Resolution for the purpose of calling on the Baltimore City delegation to the 2017 Maryland General Assembly to secure enactment of legislation that allows the Mayor and City Council of Baltimore to create and populate a Baltimore Community Policing Steering Committee to ensure that Baltimore's citizens are involved in development of its community policing strategy through the yearly creation of the Baltimore Police Community Interaction Plan. Sponsor, Scott, Middleton, Costello, Stokes, Holton, Branch, Henry, Clark, Spector, President Young, Kraft.
Please note that Councilman Mosby, Council Vice President Reisinger, Councilman Welch, Councilman Kern as co-sponsors. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Scott, I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. President. I look a little better than Councilman Henry. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the council, we've heard for at least the last 2 years about the importance of community policing, and we all know following the release of the DOJ report, which was not a surprise to any of us, that we have to take this to the next level. And we know, just working in government, that agencies will only do what they are required to do by law. So if they are not required by law to have citizens involved in the development of a plan, a community interaction plan, they won't do it. So with this resolution, we, the City Council, are asking some of our representatives in the state, Delegate Hayes has already stepped up to take this task for us to putting something that's in place in many cities across the country, where representatives from neighborhoods, diverse neighborhoods across those cities are involved in the development of that community interaction plan for the police department. And also so that every year, not just us here in the city council, not just the mayor, but our delegation to Annapolis can physically see and hold the police department accountable for what community interaction they said they were going to do. And with that, Mr. President, I would like to move to suspend appropriate rules for immediate adoption.
Second by Councilman Kraft. All those in favor of suspending the rules for immediate adoption of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. Rules are suspended. Chair recognizes Councilman Scott.
Mr. President, I move the resolution.
Second by Councilman Kraft. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 16-0314R, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. This resolution is adopted.
City Council Resolution 16-0315R, request for state action, $15 statewide minimum wage. Resolution for the purpose of calling on the Maryland General Assembly to enact and the governor to sign legislation establishing a statewide $15 minimum wage to ensure that all Maryland workers can share in the benefits of our economic recovery. Sponsor Welsh, President Young, Costello, Branch, Middleton, Clark, Henry, Stokes, Holton, Kraft.
Please note that Councilwoman Spector, Councilman Kern, Councilman Scott, Councilman Mosby as co-sponsor. You can speak to him. And Councilman Vice President Reisinger. You asked for immediate adoption.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is too important an issue just to rest in Baltimore City. Statewide action would be much improved and service all of those individuals, hardworking men and women who work every day for a non-sustainable wage. I ask for suspension of the rules for immediate adoption.
Second by Councilwoman Spector. All those in favor of suspending the rules for immediate adoption of this resolution, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. Rules are suspended. Chair recognizes Councilman Welch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption.
Second by Councilwoman Spector. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 16-0315R, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. This resolution is adopted.
City Council Resolution 16-0316R, investigative hearing, street harassment. Resolution for the purpose of raising awareness about gender-based street harassment, assisting efforts to find ways to stop the intimidation that occurs through street harassment, and to raise awareness that street harassment is tied intrinsically with institutional sexism and the culture of gender-based violence, encouraging the reporting of street harassment by use of smartphones and other means to document, map, and share incidents, including data about street harassment to empower public conversations, and showing the council's support for development of innovative strategies to ensure equal access to public spaces. Sponsor Curran, Middleton, Costello, Branch, Clark, Henry, Stokes, Kraft.
Chair recognizes Councilman Curran.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I start talking about street harassment, I want to thank Brittany Alver of the Howerback Baltimore, which is a movement to end street harassment by igniting public conversation and development strategies, and Megan Hardy of my staff, who helped push me to get this resolution introduced and get a hearing. It's time to acknowledge the issue of street harassment in Baltimore, but becoming only the 5th city in the United States to hold a hearing to raise awareness about street harassment. Just last week, a tragic escalation of street harassment occurred when a St. John's University student in New York City was accosted after a festival in New York, and when she told the man to get off me, he shot her in the eye and she died. Street harassment is defined as unwanted comments, gestures, and actions forced on a stranger in a public place without their consent and are directed at them because of their actual or perceived sex, gender expression, or sexual orientation. Street harassment ranges from verbal comments, lewd gestures, whistling, and up to skirt photos to flashing and physical sexual abuse. This is what caught me, Mr. President, my colleagues, that 65% of all women in the United States have experienced street harassment, and 25% of men have experienced it. A higher percentage of the LGBTQ identified men have reported being street harassed with homophobic or transphobic slurs. I do believe this is a public health issue which can be addressed, and I hope that the police department will be assigned this, along with the health department and other agencies, to report on this. I'll ask for a televised hearing date sometime in early October to at least get the conversation started. I know we can't do it before we end our term, but at least get the conversation started and how to end street harassment.
Please note that Councilman Mosby and Councilman Welch is co-sponsor. This has been assigned to the Health Committee. You can find the consent calendar in Section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Motion by Councilman Scott, second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. This calendar is approved. Second reader. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we refer to all bills on second reader and third reader by short title.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of short reading for the remainder of the meeting say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Short reading titles.
City Council Bill 16-0735, inclusionary and affordable housing requirements, increasing program participation.
Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier this year, when our colleague introduced minimum wage legislation, many were pessimistic and thought that it had little chance of passing in this council, considered the thought of why not just hold off and wait until next term, but she pressed ahead, and I agreed with that because I thought it was our responsibility to try to work on the topic. Earlier this summer, there were advocates who asked that the council voluntarily stop working on Port Covington and leave it to be decided by the next council. And I spoke against that because I believed that it was our responsibility to work on the work before us. With all that in mind, I bring before you City Council Bill 16-0735, inclusionary and affordable housing requirements, increasing program participation. This is a bill long needed. For over 9 years, we have had an inclusionary housing law on the books that no one says works. We had a public hearing on this bill, and everyone was in agreement. The development community, the housing advocacy community, government agencies, everyone agrees that what we have on the books right now does not work. What we have before you is a choice. This is a quick fix. I have likened it to the work that a MASH unit might do with a wounded soldier on the battlefield to get him back to the hospital so that doctors could take their time doing everything right to make the patient completely whole and put him back on his feet to go home. This is a quick fix. This is a fix that will take the major problem with the existing law and fix it. That major problem being that when a project comes before us that is already receiving subsidy from the city in order to happen, if we do not agree to put in a second round of additional subsidy, that project is simply exempted by law from providing inclusionary affordable units. This bill would fix that. It was pointed out earlier today that one of the aspects in the amendments before us on this bill is that it would add criminal penalties to violating the law, and that seemed severe to some. I thought it showed starkly that there are no penalties in the current law for violating it. That is the level of enforcement that we can expect from the existing law. There are actually no penalties in it for not abiding by it. So before you, we have a bill that fixes that law in the major ways. It will not go as far as many advocates would like inclusionary housing to go. It moves a little quick for some in the development community who are afraid that we don't have the numbers to prove that we need to have this level of inclusionary housing. But I believe it is a fair compromise, and I put it out for your consideration. Often left out of the conversation around this bill is the affordable part of the affordable and inclusionary housing. There is an affordable housing fund created by this bill which would hopefully be funded in perpetuity by additions to the city's coffers from a very modest increase in the transfer and recordation tax, which was introduced earlier this evening. If this bill moves forward, and if the administration is willing to discuss it, we can try to do that now. If not, we look forward to conversations with the next administration in how we can move affordable and inclusionary housing forward in the city of Baltimore. So I move the amendments that are on my colleagues' desks.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Roll call.
It's the amendments.
So I need to know, all in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. The bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say no.
Roll call.
Roll call.
President Young?
No.
President Young, no. Councilman Kraft? Councilman Kraft, no. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, pass. Councilman Curran? Councilman Curran, no. Councilman Henry? Councilman Henry, yes. Councilwoman Spector? Councilwoman Spector, no. Councilwoman Middleton? Councilwoman Middleton, no. Councilman Mosby? Councilman Mosby, yes. Councilwoman Holton? Councilwoman Holton, no. Councilman Welsh? Councilman Welsh, no. Councilman Reisinger? Councilman Reisinger, no. Councilman Costello? Councilman Costello, no. Councilman Stokes? Councilman Stokes, pass. Councilman Branch? Councilman Branch, yes. Councilwoman Clark? Councilwoman Clark, yes. 4 yea, 2 pass, 9 nays.
Bill fails. Does not move to third reader. Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0735, rezoning 3000 through 3052 West North Avenue.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Reisinger.
Approve the finding of facts.
Second by Councilman Mosby. All those in favor of approving the finding of facts say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. Finding the facts are adopted. Chair recognizes Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, there's no amendments to this bill. I move the bill favorable.
Second by Councilman Mosby. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 16-0690, rezoning 3020 Garrison Boulevard, 3013, 3015, 3017, 3019, and 3021 Chelsea Terrace, and 3805, 3807, and 3809 Bonner Road.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the finding of facts.
Second by Councilwoman Middleton. All those in favor of approving the finding of facts say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the finding of facts are adopted. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, this bill has amendments on my colleague's desk. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilwoman Middleton. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. Chair recognizes Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Middleton. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion approved. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 16-0691, RPP Area 41, Plan Amendment.
Chair recognizes Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 16-0716, Plant New Development, Designation Roland Park Place.
Chair recognizes Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the finding of facts.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of approving the finding of facts say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. The finding of facts are adopted. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, there's no amendments. I move the bill favorable.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 16-0719, Plant Unit Development, amending Ordinance 16-487.
Chair recognizes Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable.
Second by Councilman Kraft. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reader. Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee.
City Council Bill 16-0669, Port Covington Development District.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to talk to Bill 16-669, which of course is one of three Port Covington bills that will before the City Council tonight. All three bills I and the committee support and are in favor of. I just want to talk just a couple of seconds about how we got here on all of the bills. We came into committee, obviously, some 4 months ago. And let me just say, first of all, as I've said before, we thank the President. We thank you for entrusting the committee with the bills and such a massive project and giving us time to be able to work through as many of the particulars as we possibly can in that time. I do mention that we were handicapped, not by you, but we were handicapped in the fact that there was no third-party independent analysis of the numbers of a near 600-page application that we have. A very unusual situation. Most every other jurisdiction does a third-party analysis once it comes into its legislative body, as, if I might mention, Howard County, whose chair said that they would not move their TIF until there was such an analysis. Even saying that, again, we thank you, President Young, for your support. And then secondly, I got to say that we would not have gotten as far as we've gotten without Kevin Plank and the Sagamore team. Mr. Plank made a commitment to be very supportive of a good community benefits agreement, starting obviously with the SB6 group, who put together a great effort and moved forward on a CBA for that 6 communities. And then sat at the table, Sagamore team, sat at the table with many organizations and groups that represented some 200 parties, whether that was Urban League or the Associated Black Charities, Build Up, Port 3, labor unions, and hammered out what we think is certainly a very strong agreement, one of the best, if not the best, that has come down the pike here. It was interesting, Mr. President, if I may take a point of personal privilege, that this morning I was having breakfast with a member of the Governor Hogan's team, economic development team, and he said, really, until just recently, there have never been agreements or asked by previous administrations from developer leaders that strong CBAs are done for the greater community. And I said, pretty much. And he was more than stunned to hear that such a thing. So the fact that we were able to do this, again, is a testament to the committee, to the President, to Mr. Plank, to Sagamore, and to all of the representatives who are here this evening. I have a smile on my face because even to President Bill Cole, who actually did a great job. I gave him a lot of heck, but I asked if he would work toward an agreement sooner than later. And Bill, thank you on personal note that you worked with us on that. I'm just about wrapping up, Mr. President. I do want to mention, though, if I might, the last 3 TIFs, including this one, that have come before this committee, Taxation, Finance, Economic Development, and thank the members of the committee for the great work that you've done on this. The last 3 TIFs, Poppleton, developer, La Cité, had been given a waiver in terms of an inclusionary housing, didn't have to do it. The city said, you're good. In consultation with you, Mr. President, went to La Cité and asked if they would do inclusionary housing on their dime. The city said they would give them nothing, and I asked La Cité to do it as a goodwill, and they did. And so that TIF includes inclusionary housing, although they were waived. The next one, the biopark, University of Maryland, Wexford, I asked with your consultation that they do a CBA with the community in that area. They said it was difficult to talk to the community, and they did not have a CBA. And threatened to delay that bill. When we had a hearing here, Mr. President, on that bill, I recessed that hearing and said to both parties, you must come to an agreement on a CBA. Mr. President, you requested that they go into your conference room and work that out. And we, the committee, held and stayed in abeyance in recess until that was worked out. And so they came back into this room and we moved forward with that TIF at a great agreement of some 20% of a give back. It was a smaller TIF, 17 million, 4 million was worked out in the CBA. So I am proud of the work of the committee and of you. Finishing up, let me just move now to the bill itself. Mr. President, I'm not sure, I think that there may be amendments from the floor.
Not that I'm aware of. On which bill? On which bill?
One or two. One or two.
Can you just stand and be recognized?
You can just ask him.
Are you going to move the bill or what?
Yes, Mr. President. I guess I was waiting to see if there was going to be a recognition of the amendments. So
you have amendments, Councilwoman Clark?
Same amendments, Mr. President and
Are the
Mr. Chairman,
on-
that I had brought and were deferred the other night at the work session. I would just like to move them. They are non-binding amendments to this bill.
They need to be on the members' desk. Are they on the members' desk?
We will distribute them.
Formatted by legislative reference and stamped by them. Is that the case? If not,
They were drafted by them, yes, sir.
are they,
I don't know about
was it
the
by
stamp.
legislative reference and stamped by
Yes,
them?
Department of Legislative Reference.
All right, and they stamped by them. Let's see them. If they're not
They don't
stamped, we
get-
can't accept them.
Just take them around. Take them. Can I ask a clerk if a clerk would
Yes.
distribute them? They were drafted by legislative reference last week for me when I went to the hearing. And they are non-binding.
They're not
And
stamped.
here's what they ask.
So we have
And this motion has been seconded, Mr. President. One,
There's no motion on the floor yet. There's no motion, Councilwoman. This is a resolution. This is not an amendment.
well, but it was proffered as an amendment at the committee hearing and not turned down. It just wasn't acted on. I know. It was offered. It was presented.
Can you wait one moment, please?
Let me just explain, Mr. President, and Mr. Chairman, that these are non-binding. They were on the table of the
Yeah, kill him. Kill him. Stop her.
They want some-
Wait a minute.
Hold. Just hold up 1 minute. Hold up 1 minute, please. Councilwoman.
Here's what they simply do. Much progress has been made. Some time needs to be dedicated to these 4 issues that were presented the other evening and were not moved and therefore not seconded because the chairman asked me to defer them, and I have deferred them to this moment. They asked for a prevailing wage for all building trades workers engaged
Councilwoman,
in
this
TIF
is-
infrastructure
Councilwoman Clark,
construction projects.
Councilwoman Clark, this is not
Yes.
an amendment, and it cannot be accepted by this body. It is not an amendment.
In that case, Mr. President and
You're
Mr.
now-
Chairman,
You're now out of order, Councilwoman.
I would like to
Councilman
present these.
Stokes, are you going to move the bill? Do I have a second? All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader. Please note that Councilman Henry abstains. You abstain, Councilman? And 3 abstentions. This bill moves to third reader. Councilman Stokes.
City Council Bill 16-0671, Port Covington Special Taxing District.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Stokes.
Gotcha. City Council bill would designate the special taxing district as just read. I move the bill favorably.
Second by Councilman Costello. All in favor of moving this bill say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Please note that Councilman Henry abstains, Councilman Branch abstains, and Councilwoman Clark abstains. Okay, this bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 16-0723, Minority and Women's Business Enterprises, Small Local Business Enterprise Procurement Preferences.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, the lead sponsor, Councilwoman Holton, we did hear this bill last week. I do mention that many black-owned businesses did come there and did come back to us later to say that they were strongly opposed to the bill. We did move it forward in terms of the committee. Law Department also came unfavorable with comments, and Finance had a few pages of amendments that were not adopted by the committee at the request of the sponsor. Long story short, we did vote favorably to send the bill out. Actually, first, I apologize. There is an amendment to the bill, which is sitting on the desk, so I first move the amendment.
Second by Councilwoman Holton. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. The bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you. I now move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Holton. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. The bill moves to third reader. Please note that Councilman Scott abstained. Councilman Henry abstains. Who else? Councilman Branch abstained. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 16-0727, Charles Village Community Benefits District Supplemental Tax Exclusion from High Performance Market Rate Rental Housing Tax Credit.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill would exempt from the High Performance Market Rate Rental Housing Tax Credit a new large developed entity at the corner of 33rd and St. Paul Street. That was developed by the Beatty Company and owned by the Johns Hopkins University. Both parties have agreed and are in support of actually losing their tax credit. It is very important to the Charles Village Community Benefits District, which maintains cleanliness and security as a part of their effort in Charles Village, to which all homeowners, including yours truly and others, pay into a special benefit supplemental tax. This will allow this particular building to also contribute to the maintenance of the area. So the committee does have amendments before you on this bill. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you. I, on behalf of the committee, recommend favorably, move favorably the bill as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion approved. This bill moves to third reader. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Pursuant to Rule 10-13, I present a petition co-signed by 11 of my colleagues. I want to thank those council members, Council President Young, Council members Kraft, Scott, Curran, Spector, Middleton, Mosby, Holton, Welch, Reisinger, and myself.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank our colleagues that supported this. to direct the Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee to immediately return Council Bill 16-0670, Port Covington bond issuance, together with all related documents in the committee's control or possession, to the floor of the City Council immediately.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, we don't have to take a vote. We're just receiving the petition. The petition has been received and the bill is now considered on second reader. The clerk will read the bill into the record.
City Council Bill 16-0670, Port Covington bond issuance.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 10-13D, I move the bill without recommendation.
Second by Councilman Vice President Reisinger. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Roll call. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Clark.
I'm sorry, we have the bill is moved without recommendation. I could vote for that.
Pursuant to Rule 1013, yes. Go ahead.
So in other words, I'm sorry, clarification of the impact of that. What does it mean? I'm sorry, Mr. President, I'm sorry, clarification on the motion.
We're moving the bill from second to third reader, Councilwoman. It's been moved in second. It's already
And there's no recommendation from the committee, that's what it means, correct?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Kern.
Order, Mr. President, I understand the motion was to move it back recommendation. Do we now have to move it favorable?
Yes. No.
Just to vote on it?
It's moving from second to third reader.
No, it's motion to get on second reader.
It's done, Bobby.
It's on.
Yeah, it's done. We can do roll call.
President Young?
Yes.
President Young, yes. Councilman Kraft? Councilman Kraft, yes. Councilman Scott? Councilman Scott, yes. Councilman Kern? Councilman Kern, yes. Councilman Henry? Councilman Henry abstain. Councilwoman Spector? Councilwoman Spector, yes. Councilwoman Middleton? Councilwoman Middleton, yes. Councilman Mosby? Councilman Mosby, yes. Councilman Holton? Councilman Holton, yes. Councilman Walsh? Councilman Walsh, yes. Councilman Reisinger? Councilman Reisinger, yes. Councilman Costello? Councilman Costello, yes. Councilman Stokes?
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Mr. President and members of this body, let me just mention that to take such an action as this not only flies in the face of good order and rule of law, but it is also flies in the face of our commitment to the citizens of the city of Baltimore. We have a system that has worked well because we know that each member of the body cannot spend time on hundreds of bills that come before us. So instead, we obviously, as every other legislative body, have order in such a way that committees are set up and folk spend their time in vetting particular bills that may come before that committee. So to get to the end of this is to say that what this committee has done and what it has done for the last 4 or 5 months is to properly and strongly vet these bills, which I mentioned earlier were over 600 pages and had no support, very little, except from Ms. Tabb, the counselor, who was able to give us some support. And I think that this committee did a tremendous job. Says nothing about the chairman, but I'm telling you the committee did a tremendous job. And to pull it disrespectfully, as I mentioned before, the reason, number one, that I call the recess is because almost no member of this body had a final community benefits agreement document that they could read and look over. And neither does the general public as I speak. And so I asked for a week to have folk have an opportunity to do that. I understand, but I vehemently disagree in terms of what should be a strong democratic body, and I am a little embarrassed that new members of the council are here to see this I vote yes for the bill.
Councilman Stokes, yes. Councilman Branch. Councilman Branch abstain. Councilwoman Clark.
Mr. President, members of the council, I have a resolution that I can't seem to get into the file of this, of the previous bill. I would like to take a moment before I vote to clarify why I introduced it and what it means. I think that great work has been done by this committee, by Sagamore, by all the stakeholders, by members of the committee from the city council. It's a lot to absorb, and you're correct that those of us who tried to read what were sent did not receive copies of the MOU in question that is connected to all these bills. I did not until the end of last week, after asking and getting it from a third party. That's fine. But we do and should take the time to know what's contained. Sagamore has been very generous in coming around to meet with people. I had my meeting this morning, and they answered questions, and I was very grateful, but today is the vote. I simply felt that progress had been made on prevailing wage, and that we were getting somewhere with the voluntary inclusion of all the levels of prevailing wage on this site with this TIF, if we only had a chance for a little more discussion and conversation about it. For PLA, for living wage. How many times have people in this council gone out to help lobby existing Inner Harbor facilities to pay a decent wage after we invested millions of our dollars so that hotels and venues could be built so that we had jobs for people who couldn't go to manufacturing jobs anymore. We knew they wouldn't pay that much, but we thought they'd pay enough so you don't have to leave work and go right into the pantry line at the local church. And then finally, something I think is so simple to include, labor peace and the right to organize as part of an agreement. Now, maybe all of those things would never finally be approved, but they deserve the time to be considered. The law department won't let us put them in as amendments, so they're just resolutions to express the intent of the committee. And I know that the chairman will oblige me, and I'm sure that there's no objection, I don't need a second, to at least have this in the file of Bill 669. I beg your pardon? I'm sure you don't mean that. So I really am not happy with the way this particular bill has arrived in front of me as a vote here. I will abstain because I have hope that in the week that follows, maybe some of these other issues can be addressed. I hope so. They need to be. Living wage cannot be negotiated successfully enterprise by enterprise in a given place. The only way we'll ever have it for the people after the construction who work on this site is if the developers themselves initiate it and institute it now as a policy of this site. I tell you, and you know, because so many of you have helped with this work with Local 7, Unite Here. It's tedious, it's lengthy, and it's not often successful to bring the businesses we built for jobs to a stage of paying the kind of wage that people can support their families. That's all this is about. Let's not do it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Clark, pass. 12 yes, 3 abstentions.
This bill moves to third reader. Third reader for final passage.
City Council Bill 16-0656,
No.
zoning conditional use conversion of 2 dwelling units to 3 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district. Variances 844 North Carey Street. President Young, Kraft, Scott, Kern, Henry, Specter, Middleton, Mosby, Holton, Walsh, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Branch, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 16-0676, Plant New Development, Amendment 1, Montgomery Park Business Center. President Young, Kraft, Scott, Kern, Henry, Specter, Middleton, Mosby, Holton, Walsh, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Branch, Clark.
This bill is approved. Bills to be withdrawn.
City Council Bill 16-0630, zoning conditional use conversion of a one-family dwelling unit to a one-family dwelling unit and one efficiency unit in the R8 zoning district. Variances 317 West 30th Street.
Committee announcements. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Housing and Community Development Committee will be settling a lot of family business this fall. Much of it in the next few weeks, starting at 5 o'clock on September 22nd here in Council Chambers. We will be hearing the franchise for Comcast of Baltimore City. That's City Council Bill 16-0724. This is the renewal of the current franchise. It will be televised. On Thursday, September 29th at 2 p.m., we'll be hearing City Council Bill 16-0313R, informational hearing homeless outreach efforts here in the chambers. Oh, I'm just reading. I don't have to pause for each one. Right, okay. Right. Also on Thursday, September 29th at 3 p.m., we will be hearing City Council Bill 16-0648, street encroachment 1 West North Avenue for the Parkway Theater here in Chambers. At 3:05 p.m., still on September 29th, we will be hearing City Council Bill 16-0720, city streets opening portion of a 12-foot alley. Also at 3:05 p.m., also on the 29th here in Chambers, we'll be hearing City Council Bill 16-0721, city streets closing portion of a 12-foot alley. Still on the 29th at 3:10 p.m., City Council Bill 13-0284, parking facilities redefined. At City Council Bill, 3:15 p.m. on the 29th here in Chambers, we'll be hearing City Council Bill 16-0712, Port Covington housing. At 3:20 p.m. on September 29th. For this, I need to move for suspension of rules 10.2 and 10.3.
Second by Councilman Kern. All in favor of suspending the rules and announce the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you. We'll be hearing City Council Bill 16-0741, city streets opening a portion of Creek Alley. And also at 3:20, I have to move suspension of rules 10.2 and 10.3 again.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announce the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll be hearing City Council Bill 16-0742 at 3:20 p.m. on the 29th. City streets closing a portion of Creek Alley. I need to move for suspension of rules 10-2 and 10-3.
Second by Councilman Kern. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announce the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. 3:25 p.m. on September 29th here in Chambers, we'll be hearing City Council Bill 16-0744, city streets opening a portion of South Eden Street and a portion of Alisana Street. I need to move for suspension of rules 10-2 and 10-3.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announce the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're hearing City Council Bill 16-0745 on September 29th here in Chambers at 3:25. City streets closing a portion of South Eden Street and a portion of Alisana Street. Need to move for suspension of rules 10-2 and 10-3.
Second by Councilman Kern. All those in favor of suspending the rules to announce the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair recognizes Councilman
Thank you,
Henry.
Mr. President. We will be hearing City Council Bill 16-0747 on Thursday, September 29th at 3:30 p.m. here in Chambers. City streets closing a portion of East Fairmount Avenue. And then finally, moving for suspension of Rule 10-3.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of suspending rules and announcing hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Thursday, September 29th at 3:35 p.m., we will be hearing City Council Resolution 16-0283R, Vision to Jobs, Strategic Community Jobs Collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to suspend the appropriate rules to announce hearings for the following bills: 160736, 160737, 160740, 160739, 160743, and 160746 and 160748.
Councilman, unfortunately, you only can do one at a time. We need to probably change the rules to do that.
Oh, I do? I tried. Okay. Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Henry. All in favor of suspending the rules and announcing hearing, say aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Council Bill 160736, tax credits, high performance market rate rental housing, on Tuesday, September 27, 2016 at 10 o'clock a.m. here in the council chambers. Move to suspend the rules to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announcing hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill 160737 on Tuesday, September 27, 2016, hotel tax, short-term rentals, and hosting intermediaries at 10:05 a.m. here in the council chambers. Motion to suspend the rules to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announcing hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill number 160740, Employees Retirement System and Elected Officials Retirement System, clarifications and modifications, on Tuesday, September 27, 2016 at 10:10 a.m. here in the council chambers. Motion to suspend the rules to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announcing hearing, say aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill number 160739, Environmental Control Board, Board Composition, on Tuesday, October 11, 2016 at 10 o'clock a.m. here in the council chambers. Move to suspend the rules to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Kern. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announcing hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill 160743, Sale of Property, a portion of the former bed of Creek Alley, Tuesday, October 11, 2016 at 10:05 a.m. Motion to suspend the rules to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilwoman Spector. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announcing hearing, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill number 160746, Sale of Property, a portion of South Eden Street and a portion of Alisana Street, on Tuesday, October 11, 2016 at 10:10 a.m. here in the council chambers. Motion to suspend the rules to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Kern. All those in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair recognizes Councilman Kraft.
Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill number 160748, Sale of Property, former bed of a portion of Delaney Valley Road, on Tuesday, October 11, 2016 at 10:15 a.m. The Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill number 160718, Ticket Sales, Ticket Purchasing Software, on Tuesday, September 27, 2016 at 10:15 a.m. The Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Resolution 150276R, Request for State Action, Nonpartisan Municipal Primary Elections, on Wednesday, October 19, 2016 at 5:15 p.m. here in the council chambers. This hearing will be televised on TV 25. Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill number 150555, Coal tar pavement products, prohibition on use or sale Tuesday, November 1st, 2016 at 10 a.m. here in the council chambers. The Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Bill number 160621, Transport of Crude Oil by Rail, on Tuesday, November 1st, 2016 at 10:05 a.m. here in the council chambers. The Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hear Resolution 150241R, Request for State Action Ban Hydraulic Fracturing in Maryland, at 10:10 a.m. here in the council chambers. Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will conduct a voting session on Bill number 160301R, investigative hearing expediting stormwater management projects and activities, Tuesday, November 1st, 2016, 10:15 a.m. here in the council chambers. And the Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will conduct a voting session on Council Resolution 160302R, informational hearing, Stormwater Enterprise Fund usage, on Tuesday, November 1st, 2016 at 10:20 a.m. And I believe that that is all the business of the Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee for the remainder of this session.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Urban Affairs and Aging Committee will hear City Council Bill 160708 on October 13th at 3 p.m. here in council chambers. And it's an ordinance concerning the urban renewal plan for Rosemont. It's a urban renewal amendment. And lastly, the Urban Affairs and Aging Committee will hear City Council Bill 160710 on October 13th at 3:05 p.m. in council chambers, and it's a urban renewal amendment for the Mondawmin Transit Station.
Chair recognizes Councilman Kern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I feel I only got one here, Councilman, and left that here. Lonely, but I won't be lonely on Tuesday, September 20th, 2016. The Labor Committee will have a work session and a possible voting session on 16-0655. It's for the purpose of setting Baltimore City minimum wage for the year 2016 through 21, setting the formula to determine Baltimore City minimum wage from 2021 or and defining certain terms. As I mentioned to my colleagues when we put this bill back in committee, that I would not bring it out until there was enough votes on the floor to sustain it. And I can't stay by those words back then, but we are going to have the work session to make the bill in a complete form. There are amendments from the administration concerning the Wage Commission, and there are amendments concerning some folks with disabilities. So this is the $15, for those of you that may not know that, minimum wage, but it won't come out of committee unless there are enough votes on the floor, and we discussed this with the sponsor many times.
Chair recognizes in committee announcement, Councilman Stokes.
Mr. President, Taxation, Finance, Economic Development announces a hearing on Council Bill, actually it's a resolution, 16-0312R for 10 a.m. next Thursday, here, not in chambers, in the Kern room. It's approving the submission of an application to the state of Maryland for the creation of a West Baltimore City focus area. At 10:10 a.m. in the Kern room, we will hear Council Bill 16-0700. It was a payment in lieu of taxes, Ward 07, Section 04, Block 1567, Lot 51A, and Ward 07, Section 03, Block 1586, Lot 2, Eager Square, in the E to B DI area. And we will also hear in the Kern room this Thursday, September 15th at 10:20 a.m., Bill number 130242, Arts and Entertainment Districts, Property Tax Credits, Admissions and Amusement Tax Exemptions. And finally, we will hear Council Bill 16-0722 this Thursday, September 15th, 10:30 a.m. in the Kern room, Bill number 16 sorry, I said that. Sale of property, former bed of a portion of a 12-foot alley. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Branch. Committee announcement? Anybody else with committee announcements? After Councilman Branch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two announcements I have. The first one is on Tuesday, October 4th at 4 p.m. The Public Safety Committee will hold a hearing on 15-0254R, implementing law enforcement assisted diversion in Baltimore, for the purpose of expressing support for an expansion of the law enforcement assisted diversion program nationwide and requesting that the law enforcement and other stakeholders appear before the City Council to discuss how the lead program could be implemented in Baltimore, why partnerships and structures need to be put in place to allow lead to succeed, and now to provide it with the necessary human and financial resources. The next one, Mr. President, on Tuesday, October 18th at 4 p.m., the Public Safety Committee will hold a legislative oversight hearing on the Baltimore City Police Department for the purpose of hearing the Baltimore City Police Department's plan to combat violence in the city of Baltimore, to receive an update from the Police Department on the Department of Justice review, to address issues surrounding internal affairs, and to receive an update on the surveillance plane being tested in Baltimore City. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Reisinger.
Mr. President and members of the council, the Land Use and Transportation Committee will hold a hearing on Bill 16-0734 on Wednesday, October the 5th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a rezoning certain properties in the Remington Central Business Area. The committee will also have a hearing on Bill 16-0717 on Wednesday, October the 5th at 1:15 p.m. in the council chambers. This is the Guilford RPP area amendment. The committee will also have a hearing on Bill 16-0733 on Wednesday, October the 5th at 1:30 p.m. This is to repeal the ordinance 77-501 located Lock Raven Boulevard and Argonne Drive, the PUD. The committee will also have a hearing on Bill 16-0688 Wednesday, October 19th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is the rezoning of 320 South Highland Avenue. The committee will hold a hearing on Bill 16-0689 on Wednesday, October 19th at 1:15 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a rezoning at 300 North Warwick Avenue. The committee will also have a hearing on Bill 16-0695, Wednesday, October 26th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a Plan Unit Development Amendment 1 for New Chalo Baptist Church. The committee will have a hearing on Bill 16-0696, Wednesday, October 26th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a Plan Unit Development Amendment 1 at Kennedy Krieger Institute. The committee will also have a hearing on Bill 16-0707, Wednesday, October 26th at 1:30 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a rezoning at 1410 North Monroe Street. Mr. President, I ask to suspend rules 10-2 and 10-3.
Second by Councilwoman Spector. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announce the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Chair recognizes.
The committee will have a
Council Vice
hearing
President
on Bill 16-0752 on Wednesday, November the 2nd at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is the rezoning of 900 Fleet Street. The committee will hold a hearing on Bill 16-0709 on Wednesday, November the 2nd at 1:15 p.m. in the council chambers. This is the Plan Unit Development Amendment for Port Covington. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Vice President Reisinger. I know we have a moment of silence, but you can read the names. And before you do that, I want to recognize our former colleague who have joined us. She's now the mayoral nominee, Democratic nominee, Catherine Pugh, and also our comptroller who have joined us. Welcome to the council chambers.
Council members, the next meeting of the City Council will be held on Monday, September 19th, 5 p.m. in the council chambers. And Mr. President, I ask a moment of silence for Herbert Fenton Green Jr., and also a moment of silence for Dr. Phil Zeev and Fernandez Zoff.
Thank you. There have been no further business. This concludes the 125th meeting on the 71st term of the Baltimore City Council. Good night.